Welcome back everyone, bienvenue à tous, this is Mac Plays on Mac and we are now entering episode 15. Some incredible changes were made in the last episode. We added our first beach to the city, you can find it in the south side of the island. Also, our first skyscrapers plopped up, we have about 5 of them now, and detailed some plaza at the bottom of each of them. All of this implementation made some drastic change to the skyline, as you can see in this little clip over there. On today's episode, it's gonna be totally different. First, we're gonna just add a new park to the city, but that's not all. We are also gonna do something very big. We are gonna add ships to our map. Now, this is something very big because at first, I did not know we're going to be able to have this because the map didn't come with ships itself. So it's going to make me rethink everything and you'll see it's going to be a very, very cool episode. And I can't wait to share it with you. So let's jump in it. Actually, before we jump in it, I wanted to show you that when you start the game, it's very important to let your assets load, all of them. It's just going to help you to have a safe game. I used to have at this location a wild campfire and I don't really think it's suited there, so I decided to rework this area by adding some of this new row housing mixed density and an actual city park with some sports activities like the tennis, and you're gonna see also some basketball field as well. I used a better bulldozer to get rid of all of these things, but for whatever reason they keep reappearing. Now I think it should be fine after this one. Here also you're gonna see there's something very weird that happened on some of the field and the tennis as well, the basketball field. There is tents and like homeless camps for whatever reason. I don't know, it's because I have homelessness in my city. I never paid attention to that before. It's just crazy. If anybody know, please let me know down in the comments. That would be very helpful for me. But in the meantime, I just decided to delete this one and rebuild it. So now here, I don't know which surface I'm gonna go for. I tried all of the one and none are matching, and I finally realized that this was actually the pathway. So that's, I just dragged the pathway. It doesn't match perfectly over there. It doesn't blend very well. I hope we're gonna have more surface like this to make them blend together later. Also, we cannot have a park with a lot of benches, and we're gonna add more of bushes all around here. Let's also add some trees after to fill in all of the gaps. And finally, at the end, let's not forget to put trash cans. Now, I feel like the best way to have that coastline is to keep going the park that was before and have that pedestrian pathway turn into a quay, so we can just go all the way to the edge, and we're gonna actually make them connect right there. Now this is an odd lot. It's a very triangular small lot that I couldn't do much about it, so I decided just to make a park of it. So you're gonna see me plopping benches, some bushes, some trash cans, and I'm also gonna add a couple of fences around it like this. And we're gonna make an entry, and we're also gonna have a sign over there, some trash bin as mentioned, and finally we're gonna actually make it a functional park. Let's also not forget some invisible paths. I was not a big fan of the coastline over there, so I decided to just add a bunch of trees to make it more natural and to blend better with the water and the neighborhood. And we're also gonna add some pathway so people can just walk around, have a stroll, or just walk their dog. Over the past couple episodes, our population jumped by 50%. So I want to make sure I get ahead of the curve, and I'm going to improve our trash system. I decided to go with the top of the line one, and we're going to put it outside of the city next to our tram depot and post office depot. So now that's built, we can get rid of this and free some area for further development down the road. But right now it's too polluted, so we're going to have to wait. While browsing the Paradox mod, I found that asset called Extended Shipyard, and I was like, well, that's kind of pointless because my map doesn't come with ship. But then Anarchy allows you to be able to play stuff, and a lot of things change since. So I tried to build this ship access all around the ship lines, and I wanted to see if that's gonna work. So here we go, let's give it a try. I thought the ideal location was on this bank over there because that was just like next to the industrial area and all these kind of things. But the beach we just built in the previous episode, I'm very proud of, is right across it. So I decided maybe not the best idea. We're gonna put it on the other side and we're gonna have to build a whole new network for it. So before I do too much of all of this, I just want to see if actually it works. I can have boats or ships coming into this map. And yes, it apparently works. I'm very happy to see all of this. They just can go all around, like they go to different city, but also they go to my place. I'm very happy to see all of the thing work. So now the first issue is all of my bridges are too low. I didn't know that we're going to be able to bring ships to this map, so I never built any bridges with any clearance for ships to go underneath. This one maybe is the only one that has enough clearance. Actually, it's a tiny bit close, but we'll work on it later. Here it appears that I went way too close from the shoreline. The boats are literally touching the ground, so I'm gonna have to dredge all of this and make it wider canal. We're also gonna get that power line underneath because this is a main power outlet, so we need to make sure it doesn't get damaged by the ships. Here we're gonna actually create another canal over there, so the ship don't have to go all the way by the housing and the new beach that we built, and we're gonna make sure they have a space that's large enough and it keeps them away from the population and it doesn't pollute the city as much. So it's still a bit too tight, so we're gonna enlarge it in a few seconds, but first let's purchase all of the tiles because now it looks like we're definitely gonna be able to have ships to our city. Alright, now this one is very fun. We're gonna first enlarge it, make sure that it's wide enough for the boats to go through. Now it looks like there is a big hill on both sides of the canal, so that's amazing because I'm going to be able to build my bridge on top of that hill, which is going to help me with the size of the bridge, make sure that it doesn't have to be too big. Now let's see if I have enough clearance. Nope, still too small. I'm gonna have to use move it on this one, and I love how the move it made the bridge go higher just in the center. It actually is super cool. It makes it look like, you know, even more realistic because of the tension, you know, they always go like inward, and then with the weight of the truck and stuff like this, it's got down to the center. We're gonna do the same on the side like this, and also we're gonna extend it further away so the bridge, actually the pillars are not as big, and I think that's gonna be enough clearance. Now to keep this construction as realistic as possible, we're gonna keep the game playing, and we're actually not gonna delete that road before this new one being built. So I'm gonna have right now a new highway that's gonna go around all of the hill and trying to be as smooth as possible using the natural curve of the hill. So it's gonna be, you can see, like an incline that's gonna be very doable and easy, not too many changes. Now that being done, we are gonna soften the edges and make sure that all of this looks pretty smooth. Yep, it doesn't look like we did too much changes. We just need to adjust this curve over there. I'm not very happy with the way it looks. It was too sharp. And now for the other side, we're gonna do the same. Unfortunately, we have to dig much more on this side. So that's things happen, that happens, but it's still gonna look pretty good. You'll see right there. We're gonna go as straight as possible. And we're gonna keep the edges for the end because that's the thing we're gonna do one by one and not the two together, because my bridge is actually bigger than my highway. I have 3 lanes for the bridge and only 2 for the main highway. Now smoothing all of the edges help a lot, but here you can see I had some issues, so I had to back away the hill and then smooth it again, and now it looks perfect. And here we're gonna make that first connection here, and we're gonna do the same over here, keep everything flowing. And now I can, when I'm down and everything looks perfect, I can finally delete one side and one side here. And now because the traffic stopped flowing over there, I can delete the last lane and make this connection again. I had to stop because for whatever reason it didn't look the way I wanted, but now everything looked perfect. So now what are we gonna do concerning that highway? So instead of just destroying all of it, I'm gonna base it on some stuff that I've seen happening with Route 66. So it used to be two lanes, and because the traffic went down because of an interstate built right next to it, they only kept using one side as a 2-way road, and the other side just went to be abandoned. So right now what we're gonna do for this is I'm finding a surface that looks like an abandoned asphalt area, and I'm deleting the road so it make it like an old road was there and it's not used anymore. I'm gonna put a bunch of decals and plants, like small things that gonna make it look like it's not in use anymore. I actually experienced this in real life in south of Chicago, next to Joliet. You can totally see that, like even on Google Map, you can see that the road is still right next to it between the interstate and the old road 66. There is like this disused road. Now this next part is going to be based on the Florida Keys. Instead of destroying all of their older bridge replaced by newer, bigger and safer bridge, they just keep them and rehabilitate a bit of them or make sure they are safe for pedestrians to go there and to use them as fishing piers. Here I tried to recreate this by using a pedestrian bridge. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. We're just gonna go following the whole contour of the road over there, and now we can delete it. Here we go, we have what we wanted. Now this next part, I'm not very happy with it. Now, although it absolutely doesn't look realistic, there is similar bridges in the Lofoten Island, for example, or I saw one also in Japan, and I'm gonna be honest, I wanted to have a drawbridge, but this is not available right now, so we're gonna have to keep it like this. And it seems like it's not high enough, so here we go, now it's good. We're gonna delete a couple pillars to make it a bit better, but that's not ideal, I know. Now it's time to work on our port. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our rail access to that port, because this is going to be very important defining. I want to make sure that my road and my railroad do not cross. They're going to be on different levels. So I want to start first with the most important. Here, being such a tight space, I want that access to be a bridged roundabout, just like this. So we're going to make first the 4 different access points. And I can tell you that that complex curve tool is just doing an amazing job. Now we just need to add the accelerating and decelerating lane, and thankfully Cities Skylines II is a huge update over Cities Skylines 1 for this kind of thing. It just makes it so much more realistic and easier to do. Now for the next few seconds, you're going to see me struggling with the asset. When I built the road earlier, I built it way too close, and now it feels like it's part of the asset, so I literally had to physically remove some of the lane thanks to the better bulldozer and just rebuild them after, but it worked. Now we're going to extend that rail lane to make it connect with the cargo station in the industries area. So I wanted first to make a bridge, but because of that line over there, that power line, I had to go underneath. I just raised the bridge a tiny bit. It was fine. It's gonna be fine. It looks great now. So I'm gonna make sure that the train can go both ways so they have access to everything. Now, since we know that this is here for good, I'm gonna make sure that this road is much more adequate. And here we're gonna just make a quick jump on and jump off the highway for only this one side. Okay, well, it looks like the intersection is working as intended, so now let's build this whole area. At first, I didn't mind to build a bunch of warehouses and industry area. I thought about it more then, and it's right next to the railroad, and you know, like I have a giant rail yard over there in the middle of nowhere. What if I bring that rail yard right here? And it actually looks like it fit pretty good. I just had to make a bit more room, and right there. So now let's connect it to the actual lanes right there. We're gonna connect all of them, just to, even if it's not gonna use all of them, I just want to make it like as connected as possible. Some are definitely trickier than others, but I mean, it's a very slow area, so this kind of angle is not ideal, but again, they're just out of the depot, so it should be fine. Now we're gonna add a lot of parking lot for this area because a lot of people are gonna commute here. Now I was looking at the right kind of surface to put here. I want to make it look very industrial, and I think the oil surface is the one that fits the best. So let's take a look and let's do all of it. And truly, I'm very happy with the result. This is just what I had in mind. Now I want this to be as close as possible from the wall like this, and we're actually gonna add some prop over there. So it's very, very hard, this kind of prop, because they actually move. Depending on the way you put them, they're gonna go either on the back or on the front. So you actually ideally should put them all together as a whole, because it's very hard to exactly pinpoint where they're gonna be. And the problem is you cannot delete them like this. It's stuck here. I cannot get it out. $2.20 actually saved the game every time and reloaded when something was not going the way he wanted. He had a huge amount of patience because he literally like built like train set with different kind of things, and that's very hard. So now here, to make it more like a bit like a used and old, I'm gonna have a bunch of trees of different sizes, some wild bushes, some stains, you know, like just like decorating and making it more unique. Like I'm gonna add cracks, all of these kind of things. It's just incredible everything now you can do. So thanks to Find It, I'm gonna put now a bunch of containers over there. They line up pretty good, actually. They go very well together. The only thing that doesn't work is trying to put the single one next to the big ones. They do not fit, so that's too bad. Here we're gonna put a parking lot with a bunch of trailers. So all of these cars I put, actually, as soon as I'm gonna press play, they're all gonna go onto the road and then disappear. So I guess they're not props, they're actual vehicle, and that's the difference. So that's something that's too bad for me. Now we're gonna put some parking lots over there. It was kind of hard to figure out the perfect spacing, but it kind of worked like this. Now this is an industrial area and it looks way too neat right now, so I need to make sure to add some stains, like a bunch of decals, like to make it like use like big trucks go there, like we need tire marks, we need all stains, all of this kind of thing. So this is just gonna go all around, like especially in this port area which have a lot of cargo traffic. Now, a little issue that I have with this asset is that actually the train lanes are not long enough as a one-way, so having the two-way going all the way there doesn't really work. You need to have a tiny bit more space and then the train can actually go the right way. Now it seems to be working perfectly. To protect the rail yard from the traffic of the highway, we're gonna build a sound barrier all around the road, just like this. And finally, for added security, we're also gonna add a chain link fence. Well guys, this is about to be the end of today's episode. I know it looks like it's not totally over with, but there is gonna be much more done during next week's episode. You're gonna see it's gonna be a part 2 of this. In the meantime, I had to delete a lot of footage. Unfortunately, it was so long. I had over 4 hours of footage for today's episode, but let's review what we did today. Encore merci à tous. Thank you so much everyone for watching this episode with me. I really appreciate you spending that time. By the way, if you made it all the way until the end, please write in the comments, let's finish that build, because I can tell you that we are definitely gonna have it finished next episode and then more. Au revoir et à bientôt.